I understand. Sacrifice takes courage. But I shall help you, though it pains me. Your sacrifice shall be made for you. Dallas.
I'm sorry. You've come such a long way, but there is too much at stake. This is the end.
Good.
Yes, very good.
She raises what looks like a leash. A chuckle emerges from beneath the cloaked figure's hood. The chuckle becomes a guffaw, booming and hateful. Dallas flicks her wrist, and nothing happens.
Surprise! Surprise! Surprise.
How? What? The leash is cut!
A bright observation from a bilious imbecile. You know people often become sloppy when they're close to achieving their dream. You left the leashing wand next to me, you stupid maggot. So accustomed had you become to me, pretending to be your slave.
Kill him.
Do shut up, you tedious buffoon, and don't look so surprised. You should have listened to Tarquin, you worm-ridden wench. Nobody enslaves Brachus Rex. I am Brachus Rex. I am the Source King. Brachus Rex, you ignorant dog. Brachus! I am the one true king of the Source. He who shall be god of the Source. It is time for my divinity! Or did you really think I'd play slavishly along with your ridiculous scheme, Dallas? Yes, I played my part of the servile. It was only about the power of divinity.
Kill him. Now.
Too late, you mouldering, blight-stained pigs. Grant me power, my ally. God King, I call on you!
After all that you have been through, and all that you have done, all that you have become, the Aeteran lies in front of you. Divinity is yours to take. Or to sacrifice. What you do next decides your own fate and the future of the world. What shall you do with divinity?
And so it ended. A tale that began with my own ill-fated attempt to rid the world of the Godwoken. A new divine rose, a true heir to the Seven, more powerful than ever, and united Rivellon in its battle against the Void. All across the realm she was worshipped and adored. Humans, lizards, elves and dwarves all rallied to her banner. The great allegiance stood once more, but the war continued. From the depths of the void, the God King still sought to return. As for me, my last hope of ever being freed of the God King's terrible tyranny faded when the God-woken claimed divinity. An eternity of pain and suffering is mine. I cling now to the dream that one day the veil will be sealed, that one day I can be freed, that one day a new God-woken will rise.
Well, well. Look what the cat dragged in. A god, no less.
He smiles at you fondly as he takes you by the hand.
You've done us proud. You saved the world, didn't you? No. We were all of us instrumental, but only one walked away with divinity. I'm glad it was you. Home, if you don't mind. After all, I've dragons to raise. I need to teach them to be good boys and girls before they set the entire world on fire. There may be an accident or two along the way. Please don't hold it against them. I do so long to see my palace again. The Forbidden City. The scents of spices and incense. The sound of sitars in far-off rooms. To sit all day in perfumed shade and watch the white of the marble change with the journey of the sun. But above all, I long to be with Sadha. Long to finally have the time to love. That is not to say, of course, I could ever forget about you and the intimacy we shared. When all is at its darkest, the soul longs for the light of love. Remember? I'm glad we were one another's light. Oh, but before you go, remember how when we first met, I took you by the jaw to inspect your teeth? A while, not ages. Now, if you'll recall, as per your own testimony, you've no culinary skills, you lack a sense of fashion, and you've little or no regard for personal hygiene. A damning assessment, if ever there was one. Still, I'm nothing if not a tolerant man who believes in individual growth. I'm sure the journey taught you much. As such, I'd like to offer you what I denied you before, the opportunity to become my slave. What say you? Well, only the best for the Red Prince. Surely you must realize that by now.
Malady stands tall and proud, sunlight sparkling off her mask. From here, she looks almost angelic.
Well, here we are again. You, me, and the ship I've saved from ruin for your personal benefit. I'd say you owe me, but why state the obvious? Get an eyeful, Your Holiness. I expect it's the last we'll see of each other for some time.
She turns to you, arms crossed, and grins.
Look at you. Magnificent. Don't I know it? Let's hope it pays off.
She fingers the mask, covering her face. For a moment, it seems as though she's about to remove it. But instead, she places a hand on your shoulder.
We've come a long way together. I did my best by you all the way. I sacrificed much. And I'd give even more to see you become exactly what you've become. Soon, I'd like to have a little chat about something you can do for me. But I believe that can wait. Relax. Enjoy. I certainly plan to do the same. Oh, I don't know, around and about. Treat myself to some mead, a lover or 300. I'd say we've earned it. And when the time comes, I'll come find you, Your Holiness. Don't be a stranger now.
You're the new Divine. That's so cool. What's it like? I don't know what that means, but it sounds pretty neat. There's also the matter of my payment for all the stuff I've done for you.
He taps his fingers and mouths silently while he counts, until
1,300,000 dozen and 50 teen gold pieces. Now pay up. Oh yeah? What's that?
Han ponders your suggestion for all of a second.
Okay, I love being all sneaky and shh. Well, yeah. But you'd better believe the bill for that will be...
Fane is reading a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia. He leaves through it slowly, muttering to himself.
Interesting.
His eyes stay fixed on the book as you approach.
Yes, I see. It is rather annoying. You have my apologies. The next time I meet you in the guts of a slaving ship, I shall keep my hands to myself.
Fane looks up, his gaze carefully drinking you in.
Fascinating. The power of my people. The power of the Veiled. All in one delicate mortal shell. Who could have imagined? I don't doubt it.
The skeleton looks back to the book. You can feel the grief radiating from him.
I can't help thinking that I could have saved them. That I could have done something. You can do that? Of course you can. Look at you. No. The only thing worse than losing them would be to lose them and not mourn that loss. They deserve that much.
The skeleton hefts Hubert's dog-eared encyclopedia.
I've been rereading this book, looking over your history once again, poring over every detail with a new perspective, and do you know what? It's shit.
Fane tosses the book over his shoulder. It flutters in the air as it sails over the ship's railing and disappears with a faint splash.
If you have spent your life staring at a thing, you can write about it with knowledge. You can write about it with love. But it is almost impossible to write about it with wonder. You creatures have spent your lives trudging about this world, and you've grown blind to its miracles. Simply that to see the true beauty of a thing, sometimes you have to look at it as an outsider, as someone with fresh eyes, if you will. Take otters, for example. Energetic, waterproof cats, utterly beautiful creatures. Or octopuses. Did you know they're secretly octopuses? Octopi? Octopods. I shall have to look that up. Regardless, the world is filled with absolutely incredible sights. And who better to catalogue them with the awe they deserve than someone seeing them for the first time? Finally. You're right about something.
Fane nods curtly and turns away. No.
Well, if it isn't the new Divine gracing me with her presence. How honored I am.
Tarquin's smirk wilts into a glower.
I didn't come all this way to show deference. Some friendly advice. All who rise are capable of falling. Gods, the Divine, anyone. Remember where you came from. The last thing this world needs is more tyrants. That is the question, isn't it? How does one top the greatest feat of necromancy ever conceived? I might have the answer to that. Tell me, have you ever heard of Gustafsson? No, of course you wouldn't. It's a written language, unreadable to most, but myself naturally. It comes from a mysterious race from another world, beings that feed on minds. I intend to seek them out. This Gustafsson seems to guard portals to their realm, and once I've uncovered one, well, why settle for being the greatest mind in just one world when there's another for the taking? I thought the new Divine would have more pressing matters to attend to than to keep talking to me. Evidently not.
There's nothing interesting down there. The future lies above, not below.
Beast brushes detritus from his beard.
I know it's the same old sea breeze I've always smelled, but it's different now. I don't know how to explain. Maybe you do, oh Divine One. And who'd have thought it? Well, you're not the collared kitten I first met, that's for sure. You belong to Rivellon now.
Beast begins to chuckle, then guffaw, and soon he is laughing as heartily as you've ever known him to.
That might be the most dramatic thing I've said in ages.
The laugh fades away, and the concerns of a kingdom and beyond pass between the two of you.
That's what I should be asking you. I'll find ways to excite myself. Always do. But first, I get to work. I have to get back to the kingdom. There's a lot to do there. Damage that needs undone. Dwarves have lived in fear for too long on the outside. And the inside. Something tells me it's all going to be okay.
He winks and begins to sing.
You hear the wild beast just sails on the ocean. He's docked in the bay and coming your way. Off on the yawn, you hear the commotion. He's docked in the bay and coming your way. Your cupboard can't hide you, nor can your berth. His daggers don't care about the gold that you're worth. He'll bury your bones neath a mountain of earth. He's docked in the bay and coming your way.
He pauses, then continues to hum, all the while working his whiskers.
Yep. Yep.
It gives me almost as much pleasure to speak to you as it does to be whole again. I will always be an ally to those that carry source, to those whose blood is of the heroes of old, and so, as always, I am at the ready. Consider me to be a gift from Malady. My wood was splintered, but my spirit intact. It was a great feat, but given her skill, not a surprising one.
You look out to the endless beyond. The sun's light plays upon the waves, just as it always did. The sails flutter in the wind, just as they always will. And yet, something is different. You are different. And with a start, you realize where you must go next. You speak the command to the Lady Vengeance, and another chapter begins. War raged on. Arx remained the center of power as the races united behind the Divine. But the Voidwoken attacks continued, as they did elsewhere. Arx would see many more long years of war. The ancient empire of lizards became one of the pillars of the new Divine Alliance. The houses of war and of shadows were particularly useful in the fight against the God King. The empire used the war to expand its territory. Justinia returns to her throne. Under her rule, the Dwarven Kingdom fought for the Divine, and her loyalty was unquestionable. Many fine and courageous dwarves did their people great honor in battle and in death. With Lucian gone, the elves reluctantly rejoined the Divine Alliance. Their place in the war on the Void would entirely depend on the integrity of the new Divine. And here and there, across the world, what was left of the Black Ring fought on. The island of Fort Joy remained a sorcerer's paradise, a place of exile for those whose sorcery threatened to bring in the Void. For their well-being, its residents depended entirely on the benevolence of the new Divine. Reaper's Coast struggled on. The farms and the fisheries fought to feed the people against the Voidwoken blight. The black pits took fire. The oil there burns still. Driftwood teetered on the edge of starvation until the night the Voidwoken came from the sea. All were killed. This did, however, put an end to the famine. The nameless isle had vanished. Although only open water remained, by instinct ships would steer clear. None of the captains could articulate why. Arx battled on. Young Han grew up a warrior and became one of the Alliance's greatest generals. But even he could not win the war. With a new Divine at the helm, Malady had a powerful ally. But she was in no hurry to call in her favor. After all, it might be the last thing she ever did. Having performed the greatest act of necromancy in history, Tarquin found the new world unchallenging. He became obsessed with rumors of another plane of existence. One day he vanished and was never seen again. The undead priestess Gratiana remained in her sanctuary, happy to wait for the war to pass. She was troubled only by the silence of her goddess. Sahala sought to strengthen the Elven alliance with the new Divine. Her powers of sight proved useful in the ongoing war against the Void. But she could never be sure that the new Divine trusted her. Tova, her mother, was Sahala's most trusted warrior. The Beast of the Sea returned to the Dwarven Kingdom to lead the dwarves in the fight against the Void. After a series of public blunders, Marcus eschewed political power and returned to the sea. The Beast and the Lady Vengeance sail on. Or are you ashamed of your sins? And then there was you. And you, Losa Divine, what did you do with your power? What kind of divine were you as the world battled on? Did you show mercy or strength? Did you sacrifice others as Lucian had done? Did you regret becoming divine? Did you wish you'd surrendered the power that runs through your veins and sealed the veil? Did you kill all your demons? Only you know the truth. Only you know if you atone for your sins. A cloud of purest black breaks through. The chill of death, then its very visage, the pale skull at the heart of the void. This is the God King himself.
Not one!
There is not one who will choose divinity. What fools! They have power within their grasps, but they fail to take it. These races truly are inferior. Victory is mine!
My people! The world is ours once more. The reign of thieves is at an end.
These so-called races will be our slaves and our food stock.
For we are the truth. We are the real. We are eternal.
And so it ended. A tale that began with my own ill-fated attempt to rid the world of the Godwoken. The Eternals reclaimed the world. Dwarves, elves, lizards, and humans all became slaves, ruled over by the Swarm and the Eternals. The God King had defeated the Seven and returned from the void. Relics of the old world remained, but in time they crumbled and fell, like the memories of the peoples who had built them, lost to time like sand in the wind. As for me, the God King never forgot my failure. I know not why he keeps me alive. Each day may be the day that I will finally be punished, that I may finally pay for my sins.
Malady stands tall and proud, sunlight sparkling off her mask. From here, she looks almost angelic.
Well, here we are again. You, me, and the ship I've saved from ruin. Get a knife. It isn't going to be easy. I don't know how I could have been so wrong about you. I'm never wrong. How boring. No, thank you. You'll see, you little so-and-so. This isn't over. Until we meet again, all the best to you.
Don't you dare look me in the eyes, slave, for that is all you are now that you bow to the God King. The world as we know it will soon come to an end, and welcome an undead wasteland in its stead. Emperor of the dead, to sit on a cold grey throne amid a vast necropolis? Never. Your battle may have ended, mine continues.
Beast brushes detritus from his beard, sand, skin, and whatever else might have accumulated there. He doesn't acknowledge you as you approach. He only sings, slowly, achingly, sadly.
You hear the wild beast just sails on the ocean. He's docked in the bay, coming your way. Off in the yon, you hear the commotion. He's docked in the bay and coming your way. Your cupboard can't hide you, nor can your berth. His daggers don't care about the gold that you're worth. He'll bury your bones neath a mountain of earth. He's docked in the bay and coming your way.
He pauses, then continues to hum, all the while working his whiskers. Beast hums a slow...
Do you know what you've done? You've signed my death warrant, fool. The God King won't stand to the likes of me in this world. Not after I abandoned his cause.
Tarquin says nothing. He just looks at you with unmasked anger and something else, fear.
Leave me alone. Oh.
Fane is reading a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia. As you approach, you see he isn't holding it. The book is floating slightly above his hands. He glances up, and you see his eye sockets glow faintly. He's...
You, my companion, my friend. Is that what you made the creatures of your land? Slaves? The horses that pulled your plows? The sheep that clothed you? The cows that filled your stomachs? A shepherd cares for his flock, just as I care for you. You were slaves under the Seven, and you did not yearn for freedom. Worse, you were mistreated slaves. They allowed you to fight, to kill, to suffer. There will be no suffering in the world of the Eternals. There will be no pain, no war, no sadness. There will only be the natural order.
The encyclopedia in Fane's hands floats up as he extends his hand. For a moment, it hangs in the air, unmoving, before it slowly disintegrates to nothing.
Today, my child, we start anew. Do not fear, dear one. It is over. The world is set right. Do not...
There's nothing interesting down there. The future lies above, not below.
Leave me alone, okay?
As I was called to be. I am yours to command. My will is of no consequence, even as we sail into darkness. And so, as I am at the ready. Consider me to be a gift. A shame I must be given life anew. Is the time...
You look out to the endless beyond. The sun's light played, and with a start, and what a view! You were the key to it all. You brought the Eternals back to the world and saw the God King enslave the thieves. You set right the original wrong. and the 7 were punished for their transgression. Are you proud of all you achieved? Or are you ashamed of your sins?
And so it ended. A tale that began with my own ill-fated attempt to rid the world of the Godwoken. When the dust settled, no new divine had risen. Instead, all source was released into the world for all the people and every creature to share. Everyone was now a sorcerer. And united, the peoples of Rivellon pushed back the God King into the very depths of the void. This ushered in a new golden age of peace and prosperity. But alas, it was not to last. With many greedy for wealth, power and position, the struggle soon began anew. Source, the very language of creation, was used in violence once more. The never-ending contest for power continued. As for me, my last hope of ever being freed of the God King's terrible tyranny faded when the Godwoken failed to seal the veil. An eternity of pain and suffering is mine, in service of the King, until the day I am freed, the day the God King returns.
Malady stands tall and proud, sunlight sparkling off.
Well, here we are again. You, me, and guess a knife. I have a lot of planning to do. Now that there's not to be a new divinity.
She drums her fingers testily on her crossed arms.
All that work, all that effort tossed into the gutter like a malformed child. You say that now. Let's see how you feel when you realize the true implication of a world filled with sorcerers. Never mind. I'll find another way. I always do.
She fingers the mask covering her face.
We've come a long way together. I did my best by you all the way. Sacrificed much. And I'd have given even more to see you fulfill your destiny.
She looks you up and down.
I guess this will have to do. Take a moment, why don't you? Relax. Enjoy. I certainly plan to do the same. The same way I do everything, of course. Demonic guile. Oh, I don't know. Around and about. Treat myself to some mead, a lover or three. Perhaps up until we find...
Well, well, look what the cat dragged in. A Godwoken. But what good is it to be Godwoken when Source is now a free-for-all, and there is no divinity to be had? Don't fool yourself. In the absence of a master will rise. King, God, there is still power to be had. As long as there is power, there is conflict. Source for all, it is but the dream of an idiot who will soon wake to find his wrists in shackles. In that sense, I suppose I should look upon it all as an opportunity. People crave authority. They'll beg for a sorcerer king like me. Please, I'm not a dilettante.
He sighs, which seems...
But come. We've travelled too long by one another's side to end with an argument. We'll not part on bad terms, will we? Home. After all, I've dragons to raise. I need to teach them to be good boys. There may be an accident, or I do so long to see my palace again. The Forbidden City. To sit all day in perfumed shade. But above all, that is not to say, of course, I'm glad we were one another's light. Oh, but before you... Remember how when we first met? A while. Now, if you'll... Still, what say you?
Taken quite by surprise, he staggers back.
I take that as a no, then. Fair enough. But next time, please, use your words.
There's nothing interesting down there. The future lies above, not below.
I've got to admit, I'm all about returning the power to the people. But I never could have seen this one coming.
Beast's lips twitch, and his eyes...
So it's a story you want? The Beast of the Sea rose triumphant, guiding his fellow Godwoken from an island prison to a final hurrah. He boarded the Lady Vengeance, now inexplicably whole due to magic a beast could never understand, and then began the process of rebuilding, restoring trust, handing out... Guess that one doesn't really end with a bang. But that's all right. You know, it's a work in progress. Hey, up there!
Source of all, eh? A bold move, I'll grant you that. I didn't think anyone considered the little people anymore. I don't know yet. Perhaps peace will reign and all will be equal. Or perhaps you've bestowed great power on undeserving children and turned them loose on each other. Time will tell. That is the question, isn't it? How does one top the greatest feat of necromancy ever conceived? No, of course you wouldn't. It's a written language, unreadable to most, but myself, naturally. It comes from a mysterious race from another world, beings that feed on minds. I intend to seek them out. This Gustafjan seems to guard portals to their realm, and once I've uncovered one, well, why settle for being the greatest mind in just one world, and there's another for the taking?
I feel weird. Like I've got ants crawling in my... There is a matter I must attend to, however. My payment for all the stuff I've done for you.
He taps his fingers and mouths silently while he counts.
1,300,000 dozen and 50 gold pieces. Now pay up. It is so. But if you can't pay me in money, then I'll just have to insist you keep me on until you can. So, what position can you offer?
Han ponders your suggestion for...
You got it! But you better believe the bill for that will be a doozy. Hey!
I suppose it's time for me to explore a new form of eternity.
Fane is reading a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia.
I see.
He glances up at you. Big, empty eye socket.
Well, well, there you are. Another fine specimen of your kind. A little leaner than when we first met, and a little less divine than you'd hoped, I imagine. Indeed it would.
Fane looks back down to the book. A bony...
It could have been different. I could have saved them. I could have found a way. No. I imagine you can't. I imagine no one can. Or something. I never took the time to learn how the average Rivellonian entertained themselves. Then again, you are no average Rivellonian. Not after this. So, What do you think you'll do now that we live in a world of minute divines? Of that, there can be no doubt. I'm sure the bards will sing of your heroics for generations.
The skeleton hefts Hubert's dog-eared encyclopedia.
I've been rereading this book, looking over your history once again, poring over It's shit.
Fane tosses the book over his shoulder. It flutters in the air.
If you have spent your life staring at a thing, you can write about it with knowledge. You creatures have spent your lives trudging about this world, and you've grown blind to its miracles. Truly? Good heavens, you hide it well. I'm not sure your people really look at things like animals anymore. Take otters, for example. Energetic, waterproof cats, or octopuses? Regardless, the world is filled with absolutely incredible sights. And who better to catalogue them with the awe they deserve than someone seeing them for the first time? Some peace and quiet would certainly be a good start. After that, who knows?
Fane nods curtly and turns away.
I suppose it's time for me to explore a new... I suppose it's time...
It gives me almost as much pleasure to speak to you as it does to be whole again. I cannot say whether the future brings peace or pain, but I will always be an ally to those that carry source, to those whose blood is of the heroes of old, and so I am at the ready.
You look out to the endless and with a start, the world was at peace, at least for now. With its significance as the seat of divinity diminished, Arx fell into decline, and within 7 generations had emptied. Few were as prepared for the new world as the lizardkin of the ancient empire. With power spread equally throughout the world, the advantage lay with those who knew how to steal it, and at this the lizards excelled. Justinia returned to her throne. Under her rule, the Dwarven kingdom prospered, until 2 years later a jealous lover stabbed her in the heart with a mutton fork. With their power returned, the elves reclaimed their lands from the Death Fog and began to rebuild. Soon they would split as 2 factions sought power, one to bring back the trees, the other to bring back the scions. A dwarven joke did the rounds. It ends with the punchline, "So Lucian dropped the Death Fog on them again." And in a dark forest on the far side of a desert, well beyond the high seas, the Black Ring came together once more. The island of Fort Joy, the old redoute of the Source King Brachus Rex, was turned over to the people of Driftwood to use as they wished. They turned it into a holiday resort. Reaper's Coast prospered. The fisheries returned, and the fertile farmlands produced the greatest harvests the surviving farmers had ever seen. Blood Moon Island became particularly fecund, its soil producing the greatest crops. A particularly crimson-fleshed orange grown on the island became a delicacy across half the world. The black pits took fire. The oil there burns still. Driftwood became a center of industry, trade, and transport. You would never forget Dorothea's kiss. Dorothea herself left Driftwood for the ancient empire, ever in search of the perfect kiss. She never found it, although once or twice she came close. The nameless isle had vanished. Although only open water remained, by instinct ships would steer clear. None of the captains could articulate why. Millennia later, adventurers would come in search of the legendary divine city of Arx and the crypt of the great Lucian. None would pass the path of blood. Young Han went into the theatre and became one of the realm's most popular actors. With no new divine, Malady found herself in a predicament. She had an important problem to solve, but no ally strong enough to call upon, and so her search continued. Having performed the greatest act of necromancy in history, Tarquin found the new world unchallenging. He became obsessed with rumors of another plane of existence. One day he vanished and was never seen again. With Amadia silent, the priestess Gratiana left the swamps and re-entered the world. With more undead than ever before, she founded an abbey in the Dragonspine Mountains, offering them shelter from hatred and fear. As the forests grew anew and the elves were equals at last, Sahala shared elven knowledge of source with the world. But some elves disagreed and plotted against her. Chief amongst her opponents was Tova, Sahala's own mother. The Beast of the Sea returned to the Dwarven Kingdom, this time as a lawmaker. After a very public blunder, Marcus eschewed political power and returned to the sea. The Beast and the Lady Vengeance sail on. The Red Prince came home a hero. With Sada, he had more dragons. Soon, Prince became Emperor, one who would not use his dragons for conquest. His realm knew peace, and the world did not burn. And then there was you. You returned to the world a sorcerer among many. Your future was yours to decide. Did you accept your new status with humility? Only you know the truth. Only you know if you atone for your sins.
And so it ended. A tale that began with my own ill-fated attempt to rid the world of the Godwoken. Dallas the Hammer, the secret eternal, purged the Godwoken and used the source to close the veil to the void. The world was saved. Statues in memory of the Godwoken who sacrificed their source were erected all across Rivendell. They would never be forgotten. The half-demon Malady took pity on the soulless, God-woken silent monks and brought them to the Hall of Echoes. There, from the scraps of their souls that remained, she restored them to life. Sorcerers no more, they lived out the rest of their lives, freed of the burden of being a God-woken, freed from the weight of the world. As for me, the God-woken sacrifice severed the link that bound the Sworn to the God King, and I was finally free. To atone for my sins, I spent the rest of my days taking care of the sick and elderly, telling the story of the God-woken, that the world may never forget the greatest heroes Rivellon had ever seen.